Naya had grown up on a quiet part of the Apache reservation, a place where the sun was warm in the mornings and the nights were filled with peaceful wind. But even with all the beauty around her, she often felt a heavy emptiness inside. She was 20 years old, but she felt much older because of the way life had treated her. She had never heard sweet words from the people around her. Instead, she had grown used to whispers behind her back, cold looks, and the feeling that she did not belong anywhere. From a young age, Naya felt that she was always standing at the edge of other people's lives. When other girls laughed together, she stayed quiet. When boys spoke kindly to others, they barely noticed her. She was not sure whether people disliked her or simply forgot she existed, but both feelings hurt in different ways. Her mother was often busy, and her father had left when she was too young to remember him. Her grandmother had been the only person who gave her warmth, but she passed away 2 years earlier, leaving a space in Naya's heart that no one seemed to fill. Many days, she would look at her reflection in the small, cracked mirror she kept by her bed. She would whisper to herself the words she had heard so many times from others, words that had dug themselves deep into her thoughts. No man wants me. No one wants me. She did not say this because she believed she had no value. She said it because she had never seen any sign that someone might care for her or want her in their life. She wanted a place where she felt safe, where she felt welcomed, where she felt wanted. But the reservation had become a place of reminders. Everywhere she walked, she felt as though eyes followed her. Some people judged her for being different. Some judged her for being quiet. Some judged her for nothing at all. The constant feeling of being unwanted had slowly built a wall around her heart. One morning, after a long night of thinking, she decided something had to change. She could not continue to wake up every morning with the same heavy feeling. She needed to find a new path, even if she did not know where it would lead. She packed a small bag with a few clothes, a blanket her grandmother had given her, and a little food. She told her mother she was leaving to look for work. Her mother simply nodded, offering neither comfort nor worry. It was not the warm farewell Naya had quietly hoped for, but it was enough to give her the final push to step out of the door. The sun had just risen when she began her walk toward the nearest town. It was miles away, but she had traveled part of the route before. She knew the long road, the desert air, and the endless horizon that stretched like a promise she could not yet understand. She walked for hours, letting her thoughts flow freely. Sometimes she wondered if she was making a mistake. Other times she felt hope flicker inside her, soft but real. She imagined a place where she might find work, maybe in a store, or helping at a ranch. She imagined finding people who spoke to her kindly, maybe even smiled at her. The wind carried the scent of dry earth and sagebrush as she continued her journey. Her shoes gathered dust, and her hair blew across her face. But she did not stop. She carried her memories with her memories of loneliness, of quiet nights, of days when she wished that someone, anyone, would see something good in her. These memories were heavy, but the road ahead was open, and the thought of change kept her steps steady. When she finally reached the small town near the border of the reservation, she paused to take it all in. It was simple, with a few shops, a diner, and the wide-open land of ranches stretching beyond. She saw cowboys riding horses in the distance, families loading supplies into trucks, and a few travelers passing through. Everything looked different from the reservation, but what stood out most was the feeling that no one here knew her. No one knew her past, her pain, or the words she whispered to herself. It felt like a clean page, waiting to be written. Still, fear touched her heart. She did not know whether people here would treat her better or worse. She did not know whether she would find work or be turned away. But she took a deep breath and stepped forward. She walked from shop to shop, asking if anyone needed help. Most people smiled politely but told her they had no openings. Some suggested she try the ranches on the outskirts of town. By midday, she found herself sitting outside the diner, sipping water to cool her dry throat. As she rested, she noticed a cowboy walking toward the general store across the road. He had a calm expression, like someone used to long days of work and open skies. She did not know him, but something about his quiet manner made him seem different from the others. He looked like someone who carried his own burdens yet remained kind inside. Naya watched him go inside, and for a moment she wondered whether she should approach him later and ask if he knew of any ranch in need of help. She hesitated, unsure whether he would take her seriously, but she knew she had to keep trying. She had not walked all this distance to give up now. After a few minutes, the cowboy came back out of the store, carrying supplies. He noticed Naya sitting alone near the diner steps. Their eyes met briefly, and he offered her a small nod, not a greeting filled with judgment, but a simple gesture of acknowledgement, as if he saw her as a person and not a problem. It was the first time someone had looked at her like that in a long while. That small moment warmed something inside her. It gave her a tiny spark of courage. She stood up and approached him slowly, her hands trembling just a little. She asked him politely if he knew of any work she could do. He listened carefully, not dismissing her or looking away. He asked her what kind of work she was able to do, and she answered honestly that she was willing to learn anything. He took a moment to think, then told her that his ranch always needed extra hands. He did not promise anything, but he asked her if she wanted to visit and take a look. The offer surprised her. It felt almost unreal to be invited anywhere, especially by someone who seemed genuinely respectful. Naya agreed, unsure of what the future held but ready to face it. She followed him toward the road leading to the wide open land of ranches. As they walked, she felt a mix of fear and hope swirling inside her. She did not know what this cowboy's intentions were, but she sensed no unkindness in him. She felt, for the first time in a very long time, that maybe her story was about to change. For now, all she carried was her past pain, her quiet courage, and the small possibility that somewhere out there, she might finally find a place where she belonged, a place where someone might one day tell her that she was wanted after all. Cole Harding had lived most of his life under the wide skies of the Arizona ranchlands. He was a man shaped by long days, quiet mornings, and work that never waited for anyone. His ranch had once belonged to his father, a hard-working man who taught him everything about cattle, horses, and surviving the changing seasons. When his father passed away, the ranch became Cole's full responsibility. Since then, he had lived mostly alone, speaking more to animals than to people. Despite his calm appearance, loneliness often settled around him like dust in the air. He woke early, fed the animals, repaired fences, checked the water sources, and managed everything on his own. Some days he wondered if life had more to offer, but he had never found the time or courage to explore beyond his routine. People in town knew him as the quiet cowboy, respectful, steady, and dependable. But no one really knew the weight he carried inside. That morning, when he saw the young Apache girl sitting near the diner, he felt something shift. She looked tired, not just from the sun or the long walk, but from something deeper. Her eyes held a story that he did not know, but he could sense she was someone who needed a chance. When she approached him politely and asked if he knew of any work, he listened without judgment. Cole was not the kind of man to turn away someone who was trying their best. Life had taught him that everyone needed help at some point, and kindness was not difficult to give. So he offered to show her the ranch and see if she might be able to help with the daily tasks. He did not know her name yet, but something about her honesty and quiet courage made him believe she deserved an opportunity. As they walked away from the town and toward the open land, the silence between them felt natural. The wind carried the sound of insects and distant birds, and the sun created long shadows behind them. After a while, Cole asked her name. She answered softly, telling him her name was Naya. Her voice trembled slightly, as if she was not used to saying her name to strangers. Cole nodded gently. He introduced himself, telling her she could call him Cole. He explained that the ranch was about a mile more down the dirt road, and that she could rest once they reached it. Naya listened carefully, grateful for every bit of calm she felt in his presence. When they finally arrived, the ranch stood quietly against the landscape. It was not luxurious, but it was well cared for. A small wooden house sat near a tall barn, and wide fields stretched far into the distance. Horses grazed in a fenced area, and a few cattle moved lazily under the warm sun. Everything looked peaceful, almost soothing. Naya felt nervous, unsure if she would be able to do anything right. She had never worked on a ranch before. But Cole reassured her with a calm tone. He told her that no one was born knowing everything, and that learning was part of life. His words eased her fear a little. Cole showed her where he kept tools, feed, and supplies. He explained the morning routine, feeding the animals, checking the fences, and helping with simple tasks around the ranch. He watched her carefully, not to judge her but to make sure she was comfortable. Naya listened closely, wanting to do her best. She felt something inside her begin to soften. Something she had not felt in a long time: hope. After showing her around, Cole invited her into the house so she could drink water and rest. His house was simple but clean. A wooden table stood in the center, and sunlight came through the windows, creating a warm glow. Naya felt shy stepping inside, unsure if she belonged there. But Cole made her feel welcome. He poured her a glass of water and offered her some bread. She accepted quietly, grateful for the kindness. They talked a little as she rested. Cole asked about where she came from, but he did not push her to explain anything painful. Naya shared only small details: that she lived on the reservation, and that she came to town hoping to find work. She did not tell him about the loneliness or the hurtful words she had heard all her life. She was not ready for that. But Cole sensed that her journey to the town had not been easy. When she finished eating, Cole asked if she wanted to try some simple work for the afternoon. Naya agreed. She followed him outside, where he showed her how to carry feed for the horses. She worked slowly at first, unsure of herself, but Cole was patient. He explained each step, encouraged her when she did something right, and gently corrected her when she made small mistakes. Throughout the day, Naya felt herself slowly learning new things. She liked the quiet rhythm of the ranch, the way the animals moved calmly, the way the wind cooled her skin, the way the earth felt steady under her feet. For the first time in a long while, she felt like her presence mattered. Cole noticed her effort. He admired how she did not complain, even when the tasks were tiring. She seemed determined to prove she could be useful, even though he had already decided she deserved the chance. Her sincerity touched him in a quiet way. As the sun began to set, the sky turned a soft orange, and the ranch was covered in warm light. Cole told Naya she had done well for her first day, and that she could rest. He offered her a small room in the house, not far from his, but separate enough to give her privacy. The room was simple, with a bed, a small table, and a window facing the fields. Naya looked at it with surprise. She had not expected such kindness. She thanked him softly, and Cole simply nodded, saying she was welcome to stay as long as she needed. He walked away to finish his own tasks, giving her space to settle in. When Naya sat on the small bed, she felt her eyes fill with gentle tears, not of sadness, but of relief. She had never imagined that a stranger would open his home to her, or treat her with such respect. She wrapped her grandmother's blanket around her shoulders and looked out the window. The sky was darkening, and stars were beginning to appear. For the first time in many years, Naya did not feel unwanted. She felt seen, supported, and welcomed. Cole had offered her not just work, but a chance to start again. As she closed her eyes that night, she whispered softly to herself, not the old painful words she once believed, but new ones, filled with quiet hope. She whispered, "Maybe this is where I belong." And with that gentle thought, she drifted into a peaceful sleep, unaware that her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. The next morning, Naya woke up to the sound of soft hoofsteps outside her window. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. Then she looked around the small, clean room, and the memories of yesterday returned to her. She felt a mixture of nervousness and relief. She had a place to stay, a place where someone had treated her with respect. That alone made her heart feel lighter. She folded her blanket neatly, smoothed her hair with her hands, and stepped outside. The morning light was gentle, spreading a warm glow over the ranch. Cole was already awake. As she expected, he stood near the fence, feeding the horses. He turned when he heard her footsteps and greeted her with a simple nod and a calm, "Good morning." Naya returned the greeting softly. She still wasn't used to speaking early in the day, especially to someone she barely knew. But Cole's quiet nature made it easier. He did not expect too many words, and she appreciated that. He handed her a small bucket and asked if she could help feed the chickens. She nodded quickly, glad to be useful. As she walked toward the chicken coop, she noticed the peaceful rhythm of the ranch. Birds sang from the nearby trees, and the horses moved gracefully in the morning air. Everything felt alive but calm. She breathed deeply, letting the fresh scent of hay and earth settle inside her. For the next hour, she followed Cole's instructions, feeding animals, collecting eggs, and helping organize some tools. She worked carefully, wanting to prove she could handle responsibilities. Cole watched her from a distance, noticing how seriously she took every task. He appreciated her effort. But more than that, he admired her gentle strength. She was quiet, but not weak. She was shy, but not afraid of hard work. When they finally took a break, Cole invited her to sit on the porch. He poured 2 cups of warm tea and handed one to her. Naya held the cup with both hands, feeling the warmth spread through her fingers. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the soft rustling of the wind in the dry grass. Cole wasn't a man of many words, and Naya wasn't used to long conversations, but the silence between them felt peaceful rather than uncomfortable. Eventually, Cole began telling her small stories about the ranch, how his father used to train horses, how every season brought new challenges, and how he had learned to take care of everything on his own. Naya listened carefully. She liked hearing about his past. It felt sincere and real, without any pride or exaggeration. She sensed that he was sharing because he trusted her, not because he wanted attention. When Cole asked a gentle question about her own life, she hesitated. She told him only simple things: where she grew up, how she often felt alone, and how she decided to leave the reservation to find work. She did not speak about the heavier parts of her story. She was not ready to open that part of her heart. Still, Cole understood enough to see that she had carried a lot of emotional weight. Over the next several days, their routine settled into a comfortable pattern. They woke early, worked together during the day, and rested in the evenings. Naya learned how to ride one of the gentler horses, a brown mare named Daisy. At first, she was nervous. But Cole guided her patiently, showing her how to sit, how to hold the reins, and how to keep balance. When she finally rode a few steps on her own, her smile appeared for the first time. Small, shy, but sincere. Cole noticed it and felt quietly grateful to witness that moment. She also learned how to repair small sections of fencing. Cole would hand her tools and explain each step. She would listen, focus, and try her best. Sometimes she made mistakes, but Cole never scolded her. He simply showed her how to do it better next time. His patience made her feel safe enough to keep learning. As days turned into weeks, something gentle began to grow between them. Not romance, not yet, but trust. Naya started to feel that she was part of the ranch, not just a visitor. She felt comfortable walking across the fields, helping Cole with chores, and sitting on the porch in the evenings. She even started talking a little more, asking questions about the ranch life, laughing quietly at small stories Cole shared. Cole, too, began to change. He had lived so many years alone that he had forgotten what it felt like to have company. Naya was quiet, but her presence filled the empty spaces around him. She brought a sense of calmness. He found himself looking forward to her voice, her thoughtful questions, and the way she approached every task with care. He didn't tell her this, but he appreciated her more than she knew. One afternoon, as they worked near the barn, Cole noticed Naya standing still, looking out at the distant mountains. Her face carried a deep expression, the kind that came from old memories. He approached her slowly and asked if she was all right. She gave a small nod, but didn't speak. Cole did not push her to explain. He simply stood beside her, offering silent comfort. That quiet support meant more to Naya than words could. Town gossip began to spread, as small towns often do. Some people whispered about the quiet Apache girl living with the loner cowboy. Cole heard bits of it on supply trips, but he didn't care. He had nothing to hide. Naya, however, felt uneasy when she sensed people watching her. She didn't want to be judged again. She didn't want her past to follow her here. One day, when Cole returned from town, he found her sitting outside the house, looking troubled. She didn't speak immediately, but he waited with calm patience. Finally, she told him she had heard people talking about her. She feared that she was causing trouble for him. She feared she didn't belong. Cole sat beside her and spoke truthfully. He told her that people talked about anything that was different. Not because they knew the truth, but because it gave them something to do. He told her she didn't need to worry about what strangers thought. What mattered was the peace they had on the ranch and the work they did together. His words eased her heart. She felt seen, understood. She felt like someone finally stood beside her instead of turning away. Life continued with simple routines, working, learning, resting, and slowly building trust. The bond between them deepened, not through dramatic moments, but through steady, everyday kindness. Naya found herself laughing more often, something she had not done in years. Cole found himself talking more, something he had forgotten how to do. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Cole showed Naya how to calm a young horse that was nervous around people. He guided her hand gently, helping her place it on the horse's neck. Their hands brushed briefly, and though the moment was innocent, it made something warm bloom inside Naya's chest. She stepped back quickly, unsure of her feelings. But Cole gave her a soft smile, not questioning her reaction. By the end of part 3, Naya's confidence had begun to grow. She no longer felt like the girl who believed no one wanted her. She was learning, contributing, and finding her place. Cole, too, was no longer the quiet cowboy who lived in silence. Naya had brought light into his life, and he welcomed it with quiet gratitude. Neither of them said anything aloud, but deep inside, both could feel that their lives were changing. The ranch was no longer just a workplace for Naya, it was becoming a home, and Cole was becoming someone she trusted deeply. Someone who made her believe that kindness still existed in the world. The weeks on the ranch passed with a gentle rhythm, and Naya slowly began to feel like she had stepped into a new life. Each morning brought new work, new lessons, and new moments of peace that she had never known before. She no longer woke up with a heavy heart. She no longer whispered painful thoughts to herself. She felt useful, respected, and accepted, and Cole continued to treat her with the same calm kindness every day. But life rarely stays peaceful forever. One warm afternoon, Naya and Cole were fixing a section of the fence near the open fields. The air smelled of dust and sun-baked wood, and Cole was explaining how to tighten a loose wire. Naya listened carefully, holding a tool in her hands. She was just starting to feel confident when she heard the distant sound of a vehicle approaching. Dust rose from the road like a thin cloud. A truck was heading toward the ranch. Cole paused and looked up. Visitors were rare, and most people who came were neighbors or delivery workers. But something about this particular truck made Naya's heart tighten. The closer it came, the more unease she felt. When it finally stopped near the gate, she recognized the people stepping out. They were from the reservation. Her past had found its way to her. Naya's breath caught in her throat. She stood still, unsure whether to approach or stay back. Cole glanced at her and noticed the sudden worry in her eyes, but he didn't pressure her to explain. He simply remained beside her, offering silent support. The small group approached. Their faces didn't carry anger, but they held memories Naya wasn't ready to face. One of the women greeted her politely, but there was a hint of surprise in her voice, as if seeing Naya living and working on a ranch felt unusual or unexpected. Another member of the group asked if she was all right, and told her that people back home had been talking about her. That single sentence made Naya's heart sink. She already knew what talking meant. She had grown up hearing whispers. She knew how quickly rumors spread and how easily they shaped people's thoughts. She had left the reservation hoping to escape those voices, not realizing they might follow her. Cole introduced himself calmly, shaking hands with the visitors. He didn't act suspicious or defensive. Instead, he treated them with the same respect he gave everyone. The visitors asked a few questions, mostly harmless ones, about how Naya was doing and how long she had been staying at the ranch. Naya felt her hands tremble slightly. She did not want them to think something wrong about her or about Cole. She didn't want to be misunderstood again. Cole sensed her discomfort and gently stepped forward to answer most of their questions. He explained that Naya worked on the ranch, helped with chores, and contributed in many ways. His tone was steady and respectful, showing that he valued her presence. After a few minutes, the group said they needed to head back. Before leaving, one of the women looked at Naya and told her softly that some people on the reservation were curious about her sudden departure. She said people were wondering why she left and where she had gone. Naya felt a familiar heaviness return to her chest, the old feeling that she could not escape judgment. She watched the truck drive away until it disappeared into the distance. Only then did she slowly exhale. Cole stood beside her, silent at first. He could tell she was troubled. "Are you all right?" he asked in a gentle tone. Naya didn't answer immediately. Her voice felt trapped inside her. She finally said softly, "They're talking about me again." "I didn't want that to happen here." Cole nodded. "People always talk," he said quietly. "It doesn't mean they understand, and it doesn't decide who you are." His words were simple, but they gave her comfort. She lowered her head for a moment, trying to steady her emotions. She had always been afraid that wherever she went, the opinions of others would follow her. She worried that Cole might now see her differently because of whatever he thought the visitors meant. But Cole was not like the people she had known before. He stepped closer, not invading her space, but making his support clear. "Naya," he said softly, "you're doing good work here. You're learning, helping, and earning your place every day. Nothing someone says out there changes the truth of what you're doing here." Her eyes warmed with gratitude. He didn't try to dig into her past or force her to explain anything. He simply accepted her, just as she was. That evening, after the sun dipped behind the hills, Naya sat on the porch with her grandmother's blanket wrapped around her shoulders. The stars slowly appeared one by one, shining like small lanterns in the sky. She thought about the visitors, the whispers from the reservation, and all the feelings she had tried so hard to leave behind. Cole stepped out onto the porch after finishing the last chores of the day. He sat a short distance from her, giving her space yet offering company. "You don't have to talk about it," he said quietly. "But if you ever want to, I'm here." Naya looked at him, unsure how much she could share. After a long pause, she finally spoke. She told him how she had spent most of her life feeling invisible. She told him how she always heard people say she wasn't wanted or wasn't good enough. She didn't go into details, but she revealed just enough for him to understand the depth of her pain. Cole listened without interrupting, without judging. His presence made her feel safe enough to continue. She told him that leaving the reservation wasn't only about finding work, it was about finding a place where she didn't feel unwanted anymore. When she finished, she looked away, fearing she might have said too much. But Cole's voice was soft and steady when he finally responded. "Naya," he said, "you deserve respect. You deserve peace. And you deserve to be somewhere you're valued. You've already shown how strong you are by starting over. That takes courage." His words touched her deeply. She felt a warm emotion rising inside her. Something she had not felt in years, something close to pride. For the first time, someone saw her strength instead of her flaws. A few days passed after the visit, and Naya slowly regained her calm. She focused on her work, on learning new skills, and on adjusting to ranch life. She still worried about rumors, but she reminded herself of Cole's words whenever those thoughts returned. During this time, their bond grew even stronger. It wasn't just about working together. It was about trusting each other. Cole respected her space, and she respected his quiet nature. They shared meals, stories, and peaceful evenings. The ranch no longer felt like a place she was staying temporarily, it felt like a place she belonged. One afternoon, Cole noticed her staring thoughtfully at the fields again. This time, instead of sadness, her expression held determination. "You thinking about leaving?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "No." she said softly. I'm thinking, maybe I can build something here. Something good. Cole smiled slightly, a rare warmth lighting his features. You already are. Her heart steadied at his words. She had once believed she had nothing to offer. Now she understood she could grow, learn, and become someone strong, not because others approved of her, but because she chose to believe in herself. The visit from the reservation had shaken her, but it had also shown her something important. Her past no longer controlled her. She was building a new life, one day at a time, with someone who respected her deeply. The past had returned, but it had not taken her hope away. Instead, it made her realize how far she had already come, and for the first time in many years, she looked at her future with steady, confident eyes. The days that followed were filled with a warm peace neither Maya nor Ethan had truly experienced before. Their small home sat quiet under the soft morning sun, and the gentle sound of the breeze through the grasslands became part of their daily rhythm. Maya woke earlier than Ethan most mornings, not because she needed to, but because she enjoyed the silent moment when the world felt calm and safe. She often stepped outside, breathing the fresh air, feeling grateful for how far her life had come. There had been a time when she believed she had no place in the world, but now she stood on a porch that she helped build, in a home where she was wanted. Ethan followed her outside a short while later, stretching with sleepy eyes and a relaxed smile. He took a moment to look at her, noticing how the early sunlight touched her hair and how peaceful she appeared. To him, Maya was no longer the girl who had once felt unwanted. She was a strong woman who had shaped her life with resilience and kindness. Every morning, he silently admired her strength before greeting her in his usual gentle way. Their daily routines blended naturally. Maya took care of the cooking because she liked preparing warm meals, while Ethan handled the outdoor work, fixing fences, tending to the horses, and making sure everything ran smoothly. Sometimes, Maya stepped in to help him with the harder tasks. She learned quickly, and often surprised Ethan with how much work she could handle without complaining. Whenever she struggled, he stepped beside her without saying anything judgmental, guiding her hands or showing her a safer way to do the task. She appreciated that he never made her feel small for the things she didn't know. One afternoon, Maya suggested they take a ride through the open land to check on the new trail Ethan had been working on. She enjoyed exploring the wide spaces, feeling free in ways she never had before. They saddled the horses and rode side by side, moving slowly through the quiet landscape. The sunset stretched warm colors across the sky, and the soft sound of hooves against the dirt made the moment feel dreamlike. Ethan glanced at Maya often, noticing how her posture had changed over time. She held the reins with confidence now, not with fear or hesitation. Her eyes focused ahead, steady and determined. As they stopped at the ridge to rest, Maya looked over the fields and took a long breath. She told Ethan that she sometimes still struggled with old memories, moments when people had dismissed her or ignored her existence. She admitted that even though she felt stronger now, a small part of her still wondered what her place in the world truly was. Ethan listened to her quietly, leaning slightly toward her without interrupting. When she finished speaking, he told her she had already proven her worth many times, not by trying to impress anyone but by showing kindness, courage, and honesty in every situation. He told her that she had changed his life too, giving his quiet existence new meaning. Hearing his words made her chest warm with emotion. She did not cry, but she felt something deep shift inside her, like a small knot untying. She realized that being valued did not come from trying to fit other people's expectations. It came from simply being herself. And with Ethan, she could do that freely. Over the weeks, their bond grew even stronger. They became partners not only in daily tasks, but in decisions, plans, and dreams. They discussed ideas about improving the ranch, caring for more animals, and creating a space where travelers could rest or stay for a night. Maya had a natural ability to organize things, and Ethan admired the way she could turn a simple idea into a workable plan. She found comfort in knowing that he trusted her judgment. It was something she had rarely felt from others before. Their evenings were peaceful, filled with small conversations about their day or quiet moments by the fire. Maya often told stories from her childhood, not the painful parts, but the lessons she had learned from elders and the beauty of her people's traditions. Ethan listened with interest, appreciating how deeply connected she was to her roots. He respected every part of her identity and encouraged her to keep those traditions alive. Sometimes she showed him simple handcraft techniques she remembered, and he watched her hands move with care and precision. One night, while they were sitting under the stars, Maya confessed that she had once feared she would spend her life alone, wandering from place to place, without belonging anywhere. Ethan looked at her gently and told her she had found a home not because he offered it, but because she chose to build it with him. He said that her strength and loyalty had become the heart of their life together. Maya felt a sense of peace she had never known before. She realized that she no longer questioned whether she was wanted. She knew now that she was valued, respected, and truly cared for. The home she shared with Ethan was not just a shelter. It was a life shaped by trust, kindness, and partnership. As months passed, their ranch became more organized and lively. Maya grew a small garden behind the house, tending to herbs and vegetables that flourished under her careful hands. Ethan expanded the grazing area for the horses and built sturdy new fencing that made their land safer. People from nearby towns occasionally visited, bringing supplies or stopping by to rest. They always noticed how calm and welcoming the place felt, and they often commented on the harmony between Maya and Ethan. The two exchanged warm smiles but never bragged about their life. They simply lived it with quiet gratitude. One day, an older woman from a nearby settlement visited Maya. She had heard from others how Maya had rebuilt her life and how she carried herself with strength and dignity. The woman told Maya that her journey was inspiring, especially for young girls who sometimes felt invisible or unheard. She asked if Maya would be willing to share her story one day so others could find courage too. Maya felt humbled but agreed, realizing that her painful past could now guide others toward hope. Ethan supported her in this decision, encouraging her to speak proudly about her experiences when the time came. He reminded her that her voice mattered and that she had earned every bit of wisdom she carried. As the seasons changed, so did Maya and Ethan's relationship. Though they never rushed anything or forced any labels, their connection deepened naturally. They shared responsibility, care, and quiet devotion. Their home became a symbol of new beginnings, not just for them but for anyone who passed through. On a cool autumn evening, they stood outside watching the horses settle for the night. The sky glowed with soft colors fading into twilight. Ethan turned to Maya and thanked her for choosing to stay, for making his life fuller and warmer. Maya smiled and told him that he had given her a place where she could finally grow, not as someone trying to prove her worth but as someone who was already enough. They stood there in the fading light, understanding without words how far they had come. Maya had gone from feeling unwanted to becoming part of something steady and meaningful. Ethan had opened his life to someone who brought depth and purpose to his quiet world. Together, they built a life shaped not by fear or loneliness, but by trust and gentle companionship. Their journey was not dramatic or loud. It was steady, honest, and built on simple moments that carried great meaning. And in those moments, Maya finally understood that she was not only wanted, she was deeply valued. Her story was one of quiet strength, healing, and the kind of connection that grows slowly but lasts for a lifetime.